Hi everyone, it's Jasmine with Teens for Sharks, and today I'm here with some people from the Connecticut Science Center. So, can you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi. So I am Caitlin. I am the communications coordinator here at the Science Center. So work a lot with our public and putting on events and social media and things like that. So I'm really excited to talk to you today and excited for this interview.
And I'm Andrew Foda. I'm one of the STEM educators at the Science Center. So I'm one of the ones that goes out to classrooms and presents some of the classes we created, aligned around the NGSS standards.
Awesome. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. So, what are your biggest concerns about our current climate?
So for me, I think my biggest concern is the amount of natural disasters that are increasing, not only in frequency but in severity. So we used to have wildfire season in certain parts of the world, and that's becoming a year-round threat now. As you know, we've had fires in California and out west for quite a while now, and those are abnormal. Those did not exist a decade or two ago. Hurricanes are becoming more and more frequent and also more severe, and that has a monetary impact on us as well. Every time an area gets damaged or destroyed, it has to be rebuilt, and that costs money, takes resources. So same with fire damage. You've got places burning down; they're having to be rebuilt. So it's sort of a 1-2 punch. You have more of these instances, and they're more severe, and they're kind of building on each other. So for me, I mean, that's one of the biggest concerns about the change in our climate that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, definitely. That was great. I do definitely agree with everything you're saying. I heard a lot about like flooding happening in other countries. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, even here in the United States, there are places on the eastern seaboard, especially, who would experience flooding maybe once in a great while when there's a high tide and a full moon or a new moon, and that's becoming more and more frequent when it's just high tides. There are places down by the capital, D.C. and Virginia, who are flooding like on a weekly basis almost. And then, like you said, there's low-lying areas that are experiencing more and more flooding. Even you go out to in Italy, you go out to Venice, and it's very low-lying, and I've been there, and you can see that flooding is taking its toll, and it's becoming more and more common, and it's becoming more and more severe. Again, it's that more instances and then more severe, and that has a real price, both in monetary costs and human costs.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a lot of things about people getting pushed out of their homes because of all of the issues going on. So what are the main causes of the climate crisis that you know of?
So our climate is complex, it's dynamic, it is always changing, but there are a few things that we as humans have been doing for the last 150 to 200 years that have been influencing the climate. And I know that when you think of the Earth, you think it's really big, and it can't be, it's very difficult to change something as large as the climate, but it happens very slowly. We've been putting pollutants and carbon dioxide into the air for centuries now, since the beginning of the industrial age, and that's building up, and it's causing our planet to warm. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. Methane is a greenhouse gas, and what's happening is, as it's changing, it's sort of a feedback loop. It's kind of building on itself, right? You add a little bit, that warms things up a little bit. You add a little bit more, it warms it up even more. When you melt ice, you no longer have the ice reflecting the sunlight. It's now absorbing it, so that's causing it to warm. So you melt a little ice, and you may think it's not a big deal, but that ground is actually absorbing the heat that used to be reflected, and that's causing that warming to accelerate. So we're seeing real consequences here in the last decade or so of our actions from the past 200 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen a couple things about the ice melting and how there's stored methane and things like that in the ice, which is also not helping our situation. And I do know that it's only natural for the planet to go back and forth between hot and cold. And honestly, we're just adding to it. So I think it's really important to discuss like what we're doing. But what do you think we can do to better our climate?
So I think renewable energy and just using less. I think one thing maybe the last year or two has taught me personally is that we can do without a lot of things that we may have considered necessities. We can cut back. We've seen that things started to improve when we had the pandemic in terms of pollution levels dropping and fuel use going down. So that's definitely a start. I think switching over to renewables is a good start. I mean, there's always going to be a cost when you use energy, right? Nothing is free. To get your solar panels, you still need to extract those materials from the earth, and that takes fuel and energy. But once they're built, they're no longer putting out those pollutants. So I think starting there is definitely a good place to go, and building off of that and trying to curb what we're putting into the air, and finding ways to trap it and either reuse it. They are reusing methane, right? There's some great methane capture that farms are using, where they take the animal waste, which would produce methane that goes into the air, and they're capturing it and they're using it as fuel. So they're actually not only not putting that methane into the air, but now they're getting electricity from it without using more fuel. So it's sort of like a double payoff, if you will.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I didn't know that. I do think I do agree with the consumerism and how much we're using. Like, I feel like a lot of people now are very materialistic, and there are so many people on the planet that we do need to cut back, like, especially fast fashion, just producing clothes so much and people spending thousands of dollars on it is such an issue. And it's interesting that you talked about the climate getting better during COVID, because I specifically study sharks, and it was shown that like they were very vibrant and there was so much more population when people were not killing them because there was, no fisheries working. But how does the Science Center help educate people of all ages, and why is it important?
So I'll split this with Caitlin, if that's okay. I know as an educator, we go out and we educate on all manner of science, not just climate, but we do a lot of the grade school science lessons with the students, and it just helps them become more rounded people, asking them to question and kind of get to the root of things. We try to teach them how to think critically, how to use the information they have to build on what they know. And I know in the Science Center, we have a lot of great exhibits. Maybe Caitlin can talk some more about those.
Yeah, for sure. So I think just kind of going off, the first thing I think of when I think of that question is that, these are very complicated topics. These are very kind of sometimes really hard to understand topics, and places like the Science Center and other museums and things like that really make this information really accessible to people. So someone who might not necessarily completely understand climate change just through their everyday life can come to a place like the Science Center. We do have an entire exhibit dedicated to our changing Earth and all this topic. So there's a lot of really great information that we're able to put in a fun and accessible way for people to really have them understand it and kind of digest it at their own level. So we can, have the little kids who are here exploring, and then we go all the way up to, field trips with middle school, high school, and even adult programs. So we can kind of engage people of all ages and meet them where they're at to learn and really understand these topics.
Yeah, that's really great. I definitely agree. Education is such a great topic, especially because it's the root of everything. Like, all of us have to go to school, and if you're taught other things other than what's super important, you're not going to know. So it's important to have that accessible to so many people, especially when not a lot of people get that access. So what is the biggest problem with our oceans currently from human activity?
So that's I'm not sure if I have a biggest problem. I have many problems from human activity. One, of course, is pollution. We're dumping huge amounts of garbage into the ocean. You may have heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I don't know, it's as big as Texas or more now. And it's all plastic. And we've been to the deepest parts of the ocean recently for the first time, and we've already found garbage there. So our garbage made it there before humans did. So of course that stuff, plastic, as you know, doesn't biodegrade. It doesn't break down. It simply breaks into smaller and smaller pieces until it gets consumed. And so your wildlife is consuming it, and that's not good for them. They're dying. So you have food chains that are impacted. We also have the fact that they're warming because our planet is warming. That's having an impact not only on the creatures that live in the ocean, but the creatures who depend on those creatures for food. So I was at a NOAA conference several years ago, and they brought up the point that some animals migrate due to temperature change. So when it's springtime, they go to another area. Well, the animals that depend on those animals for food may migrate to that area based on the length of the day, more daylight. So we have more daylight, those animals are moving up there, but because that area was warmer sooner, their food source has already been and gone. So now the animals that depended on those animals for food can't find the food they need. So now they can't eat. So there's a whole host of problems. Of course, not only is the planet warming, we're putting carbon dioxide into the air that dissolves into the ocean water. That creates carbonic acid. If you ever want to do a fun little experiment, take a sip of soda or seltzer water that has carbon dioxide in it, let it sit on your tongue for a few seconds. You'll start to feel it tingle. Okay, that's the carbonic acid forming when it mixes with your saliva and the other liquids in the drink, whatever it is, and it starts to tingle. It's a mild acid. That also has a huge impact on creatures who build their shells out of calcium, right? That starts to degrade those shells. They become weaker. They can't survive as long. Corals are dying out. Those are home to countless species that depend on them. So it's really just this big chain of events, one after the other, that is causing things to be, our oceans to be really sick. Of course, we're overfishing as well, and something like, I don't know, 50 to 80% of people live near the ocean, and a lot of people depend on the ocean for their livelihood, right? We get a lot of our food from the ocean. So I think taking care of our oceans is very important.
Yeah, especially like the more I learn about our oceans and things that are happening, like it's pretty frustrating because like even down to like ocean acidification, like not a lot of people know what that is, and that's just a small problem out of everything else. Like the more you learn about it, it just gets sadder.
It,
And
it does, it really does, yeah.
yeah, especially with the overfishing too. Like I know more about that than anything else you were talking about, but it's such a big issue. Specifically like with sharks alone, like they kill like I think it's 1,000 around there per minute, which is crazy because they're apex predators and we need them. So yeah, so how can we do better for our oceans from home?
So I think, on a local level, I think I would say, make sure you're not throwing trash outside. Don't litter. It sounds simple. It sounds like not a big deal, but you really don't think that when you throw your trash outside your home, I'm maybe 45 minutes from the ocean. If it goes into my storm drains and washes down, it may go to the Connecticut River. That Connecticut River goes to the ocean. So the trash can find its way to the ocean from very, very far away. So I think first thing is to just make sure you're not littering, which again is sort of like, taking care of the earth 101 maybe. But many people don't think that your trash you throw out here could get to the ocean. Think about what you're eating, try to eat things, do some research, try to eat things that are sustainably caught, right? So you're not eating a species that might be being fished to the edge. Look for alternatives if you can't do that. So there's a lot of things, keep an eye on the oceans, try to use more, use less electricity, use less everything. That will help cut your carbon footprint down, which will decrease the CO2. Again, it's not, one person isn't going to make a huge difference, but when there's billions of us and we all do a little bit, it can have a huge impact.
Yeah, I saw a podcast called Ologies who showed a piece of data where it was like one person who reduces is 9 zeros 3. So 0.903%, which obviously isn't a lot, but like you said, it's about the bigger picture. It's about everybody working together to do it, and that will make a difference. I think one of the biggest things too is single-use plastic, because we use that one time and then it gets thrown away and it's just gone. So obviously we can't control it, but we definitely can look into what we're buying, like maybe getting a reusable water bottle, something as simple as that too. But what is the importance of apex predators?
So you are the shark person, right? So apex predators are very important. Without a predator at the top, the populations below will grow, and what they eat will shrink. And so eventually you're going to go all the way down, and you're not going to have the stuff at the very bottom because it's been eaten by everyone on top. Um, if you think there's sharks eat seals, well, the seals eat a certain type of fish. Well, if there's a lot of seals, there's none of that fish. If there's none of that fish, there might be too much of what they eat, and so on and so forth. So you may have an out of balance ecosystem. You're going to have too many of one thing, not enough of another, and whatever their food source is, they're going to eat it, consume it, and it's just nature took a very long time to get where it is in terms of balance, and it does not do well when it's disrupted quickly. And that's what we're doing. We're disrupting it quicker than it can adapt. Nature is very good at adapting, good at changing, but not as quickly as we're changing it. So we need to keep those apex predators so that everything else kind of stays in line. And it's very important for us to pay attention to what we're doing and the consequences of our actions so we don't throw things out of whack.
Definitely. I think that was perfectly said. And yeah, I always bring things back to sharks because, it's Teens for Sharks and things like that, people that I'm involved with. And so, for example, like sharks pick out the sick and the weak in coral reefs, and that's a big part of keeping the reefs healthy and the ocean healthy. So that's just an example of why they're so important. But how can we do better to educate ourselves about the current ocean news?
I think just keeping up with current events, keeping up with websites. I'm just on the National Ocean Service, right? Keeping up with the most up-to-date scientific studies. If this is something you're interested in, keep researching, keep looking. Come to the Science Center. We can help you there too. I'm sure there's a lot of great podcasts out there about things. And try to see, I think, a bigger picture than just you and just the oceans as a whole. Try to really think about how things fit together. Would really help educate you on sort of like how dynamic our world is and how interlinked everything is.
Definitely. I think getting involved with your town or even state would be a really good way of helping and educating yourself and helping educate other people, which is obviously an important thing to educate everyone in your area. But how can we support the Science Center and why is it so amazing?
So I think Caitlin can speak a little bit more about how we can support the Science Center and certainly why it's so amazing.
Yeah, sure. I think we kind of talked a little bit earlier about why the Science Center is so amazing. But like I said, we can engage with people of all ages to really understand these topics and provide a place for people to come together to have conversations like these and learn more and really become educated to make a difference moving forward. I think the easiest way to support us is to just come visit us, see what we have to offer, see our exhibits, come away learning something new and being excited and engaged about something that you didn't think you could be coming in. I think that's the easiest way. I mean, we have, we're open Wednesday through Sunday to come visit. We also, we'll throw special events. We'll throw for any adults listening. We have adult specific events. Like we have kind of something for everyone. So I think that's probably the easiest way. We also do have a lot of really great content on our website and across all of our social media platforms. So engaging with us, having conversations with us. We love talking to the community. We love getting engaged with everyone. So I think that's kind of the easiest way to start supporting us. And then obviously as we do that, we can kind of grow relationships and take that relationship to the next level. But very basic, the easiest piece, visit with us, engage with us. That's probably the easiest way to support us.
Yeah,
Definitely.
come play, right? We talked a lot of
Exactly.
big subjects here, but come and have fun too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something we maybe, I don't want that to get lost either. We're a really fun place. Like
And I
Caitlin.
think that's what also makes it so much easier to learn, because you always feel like you're just playing, you're having fun, but at the end of the day you're learning something, and most of the time you're learning something really big and really important, which is really fun. And it's always also really fun to see kids going through that learning process and things like that. So yes, we have plenty of fun interactive exhibits and ways to learn about all this.
Definitely. And I know personally, like I've been there before and it was always fun every time I went. So, and I'll definitely link everything down below so everybody has the opportunity to go and follow them and see, prices and times and everything. Um, and what are your suggestions for a young blooming scientist? It's our last question.
So I would say stay curious. Um, you know, learn as much as you can about any subject that interests you, even if it's not science. Like I said, ask those questions, research, read, but have fun too. I mean, if you're really interested in and a subject area in the STEM fields, it should be because you really enjoy it, right? And you really have fun with it. So really just put yourself in there and get out there and have fun and meet other people like you. Join groups. There's a group for anyone nowadays, especially with the internet and social media. You can find a group for anyone who's interested in anything. So join those groups, talk to other people, and just learn as much as you can.
And I do want to mention, I know you guys are involved with Invention Convention and have been for a while. And I've been doing that since like sixth grade until obviously up to my senior year. And I wanted to say like that was an inspiration for like everything in my life. It was such a great community, and the fact that you guys were a part of it made it really amazing. So just finding opportunities and going out there is one of the best things, and you get to meet so many great people like you guys. So definitely. So thank you for joining this interview today.
Thank you.
Any last things you guys want to mention?
I think just one thing, kind of based off what Andrew was just saying and what you were just saying. I think another way for people to find what they're interested in and kind of take these next steps is sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone just a little bit. It might, not always feel great at first, but once you do, you can find something that you never thought you would be that passionate about or that interested in. So I will say that, like, challenge yourself a little bit too, to step outside of your comfort zone to really find what you're going to be interested in and what you're going to be passionate about.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I would say the same thing. I would say try something you don't think you're gonna like, and you might be surprised. You might not be, but you might be surprised, right? There's been plenty of times where I did something I didn't think I was going to enjoy, and I really loved it. So, don't prejudge things before you actually tried them. And yeah, do step out of your comfort zone.
Definitely, because you never know what you're going to like you guys are saying. So